Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we really unpack the topics that matter. Today we're jumping into something, something a lot of folks dream about. Buying your very first rental property. That idea of, consistent income. It's really appealing. But it also brings up a ton of questions, right? Like, how much money do you actually need? What are you even looking for? And maybe most importantly, how do you know if it's actually a good investment? So, think of this deep dive as your step-by-step guide. We've gathered insights from seasoned investors and dug into financial analyses to map it all out for you.
Yeah, that's exactly the plan. We want to give you a clear roadmap, help you navigate the, let's face it, complexities, avoid those common mistakes, and really start thinking about real estate investing like a pro.
Okay?
Because look, when you do it right, rental properties are just an incredibly powerful way to build wealth. I mean, consider the numbers. The average ROI, it's sitting around 29.6% right now, and rents. They've shot up. We're talking an average jump of 31% in the last 5 years leading up to 2025. And it's not just, a fleeting trend. It's basic human need. People always need shelter.
Right, a roof over their head.
Exactly. That makes it a really stable, enduring kind of investment.
Okay, so let's say I'm listening. I'm excited about that consistent income dream, but I'm a total beginner. Where do I possibly start? Like, before even looking at Zillow, what's step zero?
Step zero. Good way to put it. The very first hurdle is getting that down payment together. For investment properties, it's different than your own home. Lenders usually want more skin in the game.
Okay.
So think 15%, maybe 20% down. It's quite a bit more than, say, the 3% to 5% you might need for primary residence or, 0% with VA loans or some grants.
Right, big difference.
It is. For an investment, they expect that higher commitment up front. So the most practical first step, start saving. Now, seriously. How much you save directly impacts what you can ultimately buy.
Okay, saving is step zero. But beyond just having the cash, what else are lenders really going to look at?
My financial picture, right?
No, absolutely. They're going to scrutinize pretty much everything. Let's start with credit score. You hear 700 is good, and it is, but really for the best mortgage rates, the best terms, you ideally want to be above 740, maybe even 760.
740, 760. Got it.
Yeah. And here's something interesting, kind of a pro insight. Going much higher than 740 or 760 doesn't actually give you huge extra benefits in real estate lending. It becomes a bit of a vanity score after that point. And don't stress too much about applying to multiple lenders. If you do it within a short window, like a few weeks, the credit bureaus often group those inquiries together. It's not as damaging as people sometimes fear.
That's good, Chuck.
The absolute most critical thing for your credit health, just consistent on-time payments. Pay your bills on time, every time.
Simple but crucial. Exactly. And keep tabs on it. Use free resources. Annualcreditreport.com gives you the full reports from all three bureaus. That's Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. And then maybe use something like Credit Karma just to monitor your score more regularly.
Okay, so credit score, on-time payments. What else are they digging into? Income, I assume.
Yep. Income and tax returns. They'll typically want to see 2 years' worth. Now, how they look at it depends. If your income's been going up, they'll usually average the 2 years.
Makes sense.
But if your income's been declining, they'll use the lower year to qualify you, which can hurt.
Ouch. Okay.
Now, here's a little insider tip, especially if you're self-employed.
Right.
Be strategic with your write-offs. It's tempting, right? Deduct everything possible to lower your tax bill. But remember, the lender qualifies you based on that lower reported income. So maybe consider depreciating big write-offs over several years instead of all at once, like that $3,000 MacBook Pro. Maybe you write off $1,000 a year for 3 years. You still get the same total tax benefit, but you show a higher income to the lender each year, which could help you qualify for a bigger loan.
That's really smart. So you're managing how your income looks to the lender, but still getting the tax break eventually. Clever. Any other, hacks for someone just starting or maybe with tighter income?
Yeah, a couple things. If you just graduated college and your new job is actually in your field of study, lenders might count that as having 2 years of work experience right off the bat.
Oh, okay.
And if income is still a bit of a stretch, you might explore getting a non-occupant co-borrower, like maybe a parent. On an FHA loan, this could potentially get you in with as little as 3.5% down. Big IF there is you have to be comfortable making that payment, obviously.
Right. Got to afford the payment.
And the last piece here, super important, cash reserves. You absolutely need a buffer. Plan for 3 to 6 months worth of your total mortgage payment. That's principal, interest, taxes, A&D insurance, sitting in cash, readily available. It's your safety net. Don't skip this.
Okay, so that's the financial foundation. Down payment, Check. Credit score? Check.
Right.
Income strategy? Check. Cash reserves? Double check. So finances are lining up. Now, the exciting part, finding the right property. But you mentioned a pre-step. What's something proactive first-timers often miss before they start scouting?
Yes. This is so important. Talk to a lender before you even start browsing listings online. Seriously. Get pre-approved.
Why is that so critical?
Because it tells you exactly what you can actually afford. It stops you from falling in love with a place that's way out of your budget, saves a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
And maybe even more importantly, having that pre-approval letter in hand shows sellers and agents you're serious and ready to go. When you find the right place, you can act fast.
Yeah.
In competitive markets, that's often the key to getting your offer accepted.
Makes total sense. Don't waste time window shopping for mansions if you're on a townhouse budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know your budget. How do you start narrowing down where to look? What's the absolute #1 rule?
Location, location, location. You've heard it a million times for a reason. You can change almost anything about a house, right? Paint, floors, kitchen, but you cannot pick it up and move it.
True.
So, research is key here. First, check crime rates. Use online tools. Is crime increasing in the area? That's a major red flag for a long-term hold.
Okay.
Second, look at the flow of money. Are businesses opening up, or are they closing down and leaving? A great tip is to check with the city hall. Ask about upcoming development plans. Like, if a new Walmart supercenter is planned, that usually means more jobs, more demand for housing nearby. Good sign.
Interesting. City Hall.
Third, dig into city laws. Is it considered landlord-friendly or tenant-friendly? This matters a lot for things like eviction processes. Are there super strict city inspections that'll fine you if your grass is half an inch too long?
Wow, didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Talk to local investors or find a real estate agent who actually specializes in investment properties in that specific area. They'll know the local quirks. And of course, you also want to consider stuff like good school districts, walkability tenants, walk to coffee shops, parks, access to public transport, a growing job market, all important factors.
It's a lot to juggle just for location.
Yeah.
Once you've kind of zeroed in on an area, how many houses should you realistically look at to get a feel for things?
You need to see a decent volume. I'd say at least 10 properties, ideally. More like 20 to 60. Seriously. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but seeing that many really drills into your head what market prices are, what condition properties are really in, and what actually makes a good deal in that specific neighborhood. Now, let's talk about picking the property itself. There's a big difference between how a beginner, a noob, approaches it versus a pro.
Okay, tell me. Noob versus pro.
Well, the noob mistake is often focusing on finding their dream home, or just going for the absolute cheapest thing they can find. The pro looks at the entire deal. They actively avoid what I call yeah, but properties. The ones that look okay, yeah, but it's right next to a noisy freeway. Yeah, but it's under those giant high-tension power lines. Yeah, but that weird addition wasn't permitted. Yeah, but it's on a super busy street.
Gotcha. Those location distances.
Exactly. Those things can really hurt your future value and make it harder to sell later.
So it's not about finding my perfect place. It's about finding a solid investment that a good tenant will want and that has good fundamentals. What specific types of properties are generally best for starting out? Or what should we avoid?
Good question. Generally, single-family homes or small multi-unit properties, duplexes, triplexes, maybe a fourplex are the sweet spot.
Why those?
Main reason, financing. Those qualify for standard conventional mortgages, which are much easier to get and usually have better terms than commercial loans, which you'd need for 5 units or more. Plus, they appeal to a really broad range of renters and future buyers.
Okay, so single family up to 4 units. What about condos?
I generally advise avoiding condos, especially for a first investment. Those HOA fees can really eat into your profits, and often there's less opportunity to add value through renovations, less upside potential.
Makes sense.
A really smart strategy. Look for the worst home in the best neighborhood. Find a place that needs cosmetic work. It's structurally sound, but maybe just ugly.
The diamond in the rough.
Exactly. That's where you find a wedge deal. You buy it below market value because it needs work. You put in some sweat equity or manage some contractors, and boom, you've created equity right away. Focus on properties meeting those minor cosmetic fixes in really strong areas. That's where the best potential usually lies.
Okay, cosmetic fixes, good area. At what price range? High end,
Yeah.
low end?
Target the median price range for the area, or maybe slightly lower middle. That attracts the biggest pool of potential tenants. Plus, it often gives you more room to add value compared to buying at the very top of the market. Be really cautious about turnkey properties or recent flips.
Why is that? They look nice.
They look nice. But sometimes, that's just lipstick on a pig. They can hide rushed, low-quality work behind the shiny new finishes. Instead, look for properties with good bones. That means, the important stuff is solid. Maybe a newer roof, good foundation, updated plumbing or electrical. But the cosmetics are dated, old paint, gross carpet, maybe some truly hideous 70s wallpaper, ugly landscaping. That's your sweet spot.
Good bones, bad makeup.
Got it.
This definitely sounds like you need a good real estate agent who understands this stuff.
Yeah.
How do you find someone who's actually competent for investment properties?
Finding the right agent is huge. Don't just go with the first person you talk to. Interview several agents. Ask them about their experience with investment properties in your target area.
Okay.
Look for responsiveness. How quickly do they text or call you back? That matters when deals move fast. Do they seem to really know the specific neighborhoods you're interested in? Word of mouth referrals from other investors can be golden here.
Good idea.
And once you pick someone, give them your proof of funds and that pre-approval letter right away. It shows you're serious, you're ready, and it helps them prioritize you and act quickly when the right property pops up.
Okay, fantastic. So we've covered the prep, the finances, the scouting strategy, finding an agent. Now let's get into the really critical part. Crunching the numbers. Making absolutely sure this deal makes financial sense. Because, let's be real, you mentioned earlier that most properties you look at, maybe 95, 98%, won't cash flow right off the bat.
That's the hard truth.
So, when we say cash flow, just to be clear, we mean the rent you collect minus all the costs of owning that property, right?
Every single cost, yes.
And the goal isn't just to hope it works out someday. It's to buy smart, so the numbers work from day one. You don't want to be feeding the property money each month just to own it.
Exactly right. You have to be meticulous here. First step, figure out your potential rental income. How much can you realistically charge?
How do you do that?
Use the online platforms. Check Craigslist, Kijiji if you're up in Canada, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin. See what similar properties in that same area are currently renting for. Be realistic.
Okay, research the comps. Then what?
Then you calculate all your ownership costs. The big one is your mortgage payment, your P&I, principal and interest. Use an online mortgage calculator, like the one on Zillow. Zillow.mortgagecalculator.org is a good one. So, for example, let's say you're looking at a $400,000 property. You put 20% down. Your monthly P&I payment might be somewhere around, say, $7,717. And you generally want to aim for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage for that long-term stability.
Okay, $1,717 for P&I on a $400 K house example, but that's just one piece, right?
Okay.
What else goes into the monthly cost?
Oh, yeah, plenty more. Property taxes are next. These vary wildly depending on where you live. California, it might be around 1.2% of the purchase price per year. Texas could be closer to 2.4%.
Wow, big difference.
Huge. Here's a quick estimation trick I use sometimes. If the tax rate is around 1.2%, take the purchase price, knock off the last 3 digits, and that's roughly your monthly tax bill. So a $300,000 house, maybe around $300 a month in taxes. Just a rough guide, but helpful.
Okay, that's a neat trick. Taxes. What else? Insurance.
Yep, insurance. Budget maybe $100 to $150 a month for basic hazard insurance. And definitely ask your insurance agent about bundling it with your home or auto insurance. Sometimes you can get a discount. And remember, for a rental, you also need landlord insurance. That covers property damage, liability if someone gets hurt, and potentially lost rental income if the place becomes uninhabitable.
Landlord insurance, right. So mortgage, taxes, insurance. That covers the main recurring bills, or is there more?
There's always more. You need to factor in other stuff. Put aside a monthly buffer for just random fixes, maybe $200 a month. Something will break.
Inevitably.
Yeah. Then vacancy. Tenants move out eventually. You need to budget for the property potentially sitting empty for a bit, maybe average $150 a month for vacancy allowance. And then there's maintenance, ongoing upkeep, bigger repairs over time. This can range anywhere from 5% to maybe 20% of the rent. Really depends on the age and condition of the property.
Okay, so fixes, vacancy, maintenance, adding it all up.
Right. So going back to our $400,000 example property, if P&I is $7,707, maybe taxes are $400, insurance $120, fixes $200, vacancy $150, maintenance $200, you're looking at total monthly expenses around $2,787. Let's round and say It'd be $2,600 to $2,800 a month ballpark.
Okay, so around $2,700, $2,800 a month in total costs.
So if that property rents for, say, $3,200 a month, you subtract your roughly $2,800 in costs, and you're left with maybe $400, $500 a month in positive cash flow.
Okay, $400, $500 a month positive cash flow. That sounds decent. But how do we know if that's actually a good deal? Are there like benchmarks or rules investors use?
Yes, definitely. There are a few key rules of thumb that are really helpful, especially when you're starting out. The first one is the 1% rule. It's a quick filter.
Well, 1% rule, okay.
It basically says your gross monthly rent should be at least 1% of the property's purchase price. So if you buy a house for $300,000, you'd want it to rent for at least $3,000 a month. 300,000 below one. It's your first gonna-go check.
Okay, quick math check. So our $400 K example renting for $3,200, that doesn't quite hit the 1% rule, $4,000. What does that mean?
Good catch. It means it might be tighter or maybe not feasible in that particular market or at that price. The 1% rule is harder to hit in expensive coastal markets, easier in the Midwest, for example. It's a guideline, not an absolute law, but if you're way off, you need to scrutinize the numbers very carefully.
Okay, so it's a filter. What else?
Next is the 50% rule. This one's a bit more nuanced. It suggests that your operating expenses, everything except your mortgage principal and interest, should roughly equal about 50% of your gross rent. So if rent is $3,000, your taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy, etc., should ideally be around $1,500. The other $1,500 would cover your P&I and provide your cash flow.
Okay. Another guideline to check profitability.
Exactly. And then a really important metric is your cash-on-cash return. This tells you how hard your actual invested cash is working for you.
How do you calculate that?
You take your annual net cash flow, so your monthly cash flow times 12, and divide it by the total cash you put into the deal. That includes your down payment, closing costs, and any immediate repair costs.
Okay.
So let's refine our $400 example. Say you put 20% down, $80,000, plus maybe $5,000 in closing costs, so $85,000 total cash invested. If your net cash flow is, let's use the 400-month figure we calculated earlier, that's $4,800 a year. So $4,800 divided by $85,000, that's about a 5.6% cash-on-cash return.
5.6%, is that good average?
It's okay. Not amazing. Many investors aim for 8%, 10%, 12%, or even higher, especially when starting out. But, and this is important, cash flow isn't the only return. Don't forget, you're also building equity as the tenant pays down your mortgage principal.
Right, the principal pay down.
Yeah. On that $400 K loan example, in the first year alone, you might pay down around $4,700 in principal. That's equity you're building, completely separate from cash flow or appreciation.
Okay, so multiple ways the investment generates return. Cash flow, equity buildup, and hopefully appreciation over time. Got it. So summarizing the numbers. Check the 1% rule, maybe the 50% rule, calculate your cash-on-cash return, factor in equity paydown. What's the absolute non-negotiable golden rule here?
The golden rule: never ever buy a property that doesn't cash flow positively, or at the very least break even from day one. Don't bank on appreciation saving you. Assume rents stay flat and costs go up slightly. Does it still work?
Hope is not a strategy.
Exactly. And remember, every property can cash flow if you buy it at the right price.
Right.
Don't be afraid to make offers lower than asking if the numbers don't work otherwise. Your job is to find a deal that fits your financial goals, not just buy any house.
Find a deal, don't just buy the house. Love that. Okay, numbers are crunched, target identified. Now the action phase. Making offers and getting to closing. You mentioned negotiation. It's not just about price.
Not at all. Negotiation is really a game of information, not just emotion or who throws the most money. Understanding the seller's motivation can be incredibly powerful. Do they need to close quickly? Are they more concerned about certainty than getting every last dollar?
So offering better terms might win over a slightly higher price.
Often, yes. Pros frequently win deals not because they cared the most, but because they offered terms the seller valued, maybe a quick close, fewer contingencies, things like that. When you make offers, just expect that some, maybe many, won't get accepted. Don't get emotionally attached or drawn into bidding wars that blow your numbers out of the water. Stick to what makes financial sense for you.
Okay, offer accepted, pop the champagne, or not yet.
Not quite yet. Now comes the inspection phase. And think of this as your crucial second round of negotiations.
Second round, yeah.
You need comprehensive inspections, get the main stuff checked thoroughly. Roof, foundation, definitely this sewer line that can be a huge hidden expense, electrical system, plumbing. And just know, every property will have issues, even brand new construction.
Good to remember. No perfect houses.
None. So here's a pro tip. Start with a general home inspection. It'll give you a broad overview. If they flag potential major issues like, hey, the main drain line looks slow or there's evidence of foundation settling, then you bring in the specialist. Get a plumber with a sewer camera, get a structural engineer, get specific bids from licensed contractors for those specific problems.
Don't just get a general contractor quote for everything.
Right. Get specific bids for the actual problems identified. Once you have those costs, you go back to the seller. Always ask for a credit towards your closing costs or a price reduction to cover those repairs, even if they listed it as is. Most sellers expect this and will usually give you something. It's part of the dance.
Okay, negotiate repairs. What about closing costs themselves? How much should I budget?
Budget roughly 1% of the purchase price just for closing costs. This covers things like escrow fees, title insurance, lender fees, recording fees, various miscellaneous charges.
1%. Got it. And you mentioned due diligence earlier. Sounds important.
Extremely. You need a checklist, make sure you're covering everything. Legal stuff. Clear title, zoning, okay, any lineations. Financials. Verify any claimed income and expenses if it's already rented. Check tax records. Physical. Beyond the main inspection, check HVAC, look for pests, environmental.flood zones, anything weird on site. If there are tenants, review the leases, payment history, regulatory.building codes, permits for past work. It's a lot, but crucial.
Seems like a ton of documents. How do people manage all that?
Well, you need an organized system. Could be a simple shared folder for your first deal. As you grow, many investors use things like virtual data rooms, secure online platforms to manage and track all these sensitive documents, control who sees what, keep an audit trail, keeps everything organized and secure.
Okay, makes sense. So you navigate the inspections, negotiations, closing, and finally the keys are in your hand. Now what? Time to fix it up and get it ready for tenants, right? The transformation phase.
Exactly. And this is where smart, cost-effective renovations can really boost your returns. You're not building your dream home, remember. You're prepping a durable, appealing rental.
Right. So what's the focus?
Focus on those cosmetic renovations we talked about. Target properties that need the easy stuff. New paint, replacing that nasty old carpet, updating dated fixtures, maybe some simple landscaping. But where the expensive hidden stuff, roof, foundation, electrical, plumbing, is already in good shape. That's the sweet spot for ROI. Spending, say, $30,000 on those kinds of fixes could easily add $600 a month to your potential rent and cash flow.
Wow, okay. Cosmetics pay off. What about materials? Anything specific to use or avoid for rentals?
Think renter-proofing. Durability and low maintenance are key. Flooring. Laminate or tile is usually much better than hardwood, which scratches easily, or definitely better than carpet, which tenants seem to destroy, and it costs a lot to replace frequently.
No carpet. Got it.
Countertops. Choose something durable that won't easily crack or stain. Quartz is often a good middle ground. Just avoid anything too expensive and fragile. Because, trust me on this, if it can possibly break, a tenant will find a way to break it.
I believe it.
The goal is clean, neutral, durable, rental-grade finishes. Things that appeal to a wide audience, not high-end custom luxury that you'll cry over when it gets damaged.
Rental grade. Okay. What about finding and managing the contractors to do this work? Any major pitfalls?
Oh yeah. Contractor management is huge. First, always get at least 3 bids for any significant job. Use resources like Yelp or ask your agent for referrals to find reputable folks. Look for 4+ star ratings, good reviews.
3 bids. Makes sense.
Now, here's the golden rule of renovations. Engrave this on your brain. Every project will cost 20% more and take 20% longer than you initially estimate.
20% more, 20% longer. Wow. Always.
Pretty much always. Budget for it. Plan for it. That buffer isn't for if things go wrong, it's for when they go wrong. It's what separates investors who make it from those who get burned by unexpected costs.
Good advice. Plan for the overage.
And another big tip. Try to avoid hiring one general contractor for the entire job, especially on your first few deals. It might seem easier, but you often pay a premium and you have less control. Instead, act as your own GC if you can. Get specific bids from specialized trades, a flooring company for the floors, an electrician for the electrical, a painter for the painting. You'll usually save money and get better expertise.
Okay, manage the trades directly. Sounds like more work, though.
It is, and that leads to the next point. You need to be on site. A lot. Ideally, frequently, maybe even daily during key phases. Supervise the work. Catch mistakes early. Keep the project moving. If you're not there, things can go sideways fast.
Be present. Got it. Is there a logical order to doing the renovations? Like floors before paint?
Yeah, there's a general flow. Start with planning and any necessary demo. then rough-in plumbing and electrical if needed, then drywall repair or installation, then painting walls, trim maybe cabinets, then install countertops, then flooring, finally install light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, sinks, toilets, and appliances. Last step is usually landscaping. Keep it simple and low maintenance. Mulch and rocks are your friends. Avoid elaborate designs that need constant upkeep.
Okay, logical order. And just to circle back, quickly remind us of those location nuisances to avoid again.
Right. Steer clear of properties directly backing onto noisy freeways or really busy main streets. Avoid being right next to large apartment complexes or commercial buildings with big parking lots. Those things can definitely hurt your resale value and make it harder to attract good tenants.
Got it. Avoid the noise and the busyness.
Yeah.
Okay, the property's renovated, looking good, rental grade. Now, the final piece before the income starts. The landlord role. Finding and managing tenants. You said this is just as important as the property itself.
Absolutely. Finding the right tenant is critical. It can be the difference between a smooth investment and a total nightmare.
So what's the number one rule for tenants?
Prioritize quality over maximizing the rent price. Always, always choose the higher quality applicant, someone with stable job history, good verifiable income, solid credit, even if they offer slightly less rent than someone else who seems a bit shaky.
Quality over quantity of rent.
Exactly. Those extra $50 a month aren't worth the potential cost and stress of a problem tenant who doesn't pay or damages the place. And be very wary of sob stories. Stick to your criteria.
Okay. How do you attract those quality tenants in the first place? Marketing.
Good marketing is key. First, visuals matter. You need good photos, professional quality, even if you take them yourself with a decent smartphone. Good lighting, clean space, make it look appealing, and please put the toilet seats down in the photos.
Yes. Pet peeve.
Second, be responsive. When inquiries come in, respond immediately. Good tenants are often looking to move quickly and see places right away. If you wait a day, they might have already found something else.
Speed matters. Where should you advertise?
Advertise widely. Use Craigslist, definitely, but also sites like apartments.com, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, and consider listing it on the MLS, the multiple listing service that agents use. That gets it in front of other agents who might have clients looking.
Okay, cast a wide net.
And remember, good tenants have choices. Your property needs to be appealing. Keep it well maintained, maybe offer some desirable features like updated fixtures or good curb appeal, maybe include a washer dryer, and set a competitive rent price. If you overprice it, you often just attract the tenants who can't qualify for the better priced homes, the sketchy tenants as you call them.
Don't price yourself into attracting bad applicants. Smart. Okay, the applications are rolling in. How do you screen effectively to avoid those headaches?
Screening. This is arguably the most important part of being a landlord. Don't cut corners here. Go beyond just a basic credit check and calling their employer.
What else should you do?
You absolutely need to run an eviction history search. Check for past evictions, huge red flag. Look for other red flags on the application itself. Is it incomplete? Can you actually verify their income? Are they offering to pay several months' rent upfront in cash? That often means they have bad credit they're trying to hide.
Upfront cash isn't always good then.
Often not. Dig into the credit report beyond just the score. Look for late payment patterns, collections, any open bankruptcies, and pay attention to their demeanor during the application process. If they're difficult, demanding, or evasive now, imagine what they'll be like as a tenant.
Good point. Gut feeling matters too.
It does. And here's a little pro tip. Use discretion. If possible, maybe drive by their current residence. Is the yard a mess? Or peek at the condition of their car when they come for a showing. It can sometimes give you clues about how they might maintain your property. Always, always cross-reference the addresses on their application with their driver's license and the addresses listed on their credit report. Make sure things match up.
Wow, that's some detective work. Very thorough.
Right.
Okay, you've screened carefully, found that ideal tenant. What are the ongoing responsibilities? What are you legally required to do as a landlord, and what should the tenant handle?
Okay, landlord responsibilities. First, know your lease agreement inside and out. Read it thoroughly. Refer back to it constantly. It's your rule book. Second, educate yourself on fair housing laws, federal, state, local. You absolutely cannot discriminate based on race, religion, national origin, sex, familial status, disability, and often sexual orientation or other protected classes. Know the rules. Also, understand local rent control laws. If they apply, they can dictate how much you can raise rent and under what conditions you can evict.
Fair housing and rent control. Crucial. What about the property itself?
Legally, you're responsible for maintaining basic habitability. That means ensuring things like heat, Plumbing, electrical systems are working, providing smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, keeping the property sanitary and structurally sound. Before a tenant moves in, fix all those little things a homeowner might ignore: leaky faucet, running toilet, sticky door. Get it perfect.
Okay, landlord handles habitability. What's the tenant responsible for?
Tenants are generally responsible for keeping the place clean, using garbage disposal correctly, not causing damage beyond normal wear and tear, and handling minor things like changing light bulbs, batteries, and smoke detectors, and maybe furnace filters, but make sure those filter changes are explicitly stated in the lease.
Put it in the lease. Good tip.
Right.
What about communication?
Encourage tenants to report problems promptly. A tenant who never calls might actually be a concern. Are they hiding issues? Or maybe doing unapproved repairs themselves? Which leads to another point. Generally, don't allow tenants to make their own repairs, except maybe super minor stuff. It creates liability issues for you, and you have no control over the quality.
Liability, right. What about entering the property?
You generally need to give proper notice, usually at least 24 hours before entering the property, unless it's a genuine emergency like a fire or major flood. Know your local laws on notice requirements.
Okay. And security deposits. Big source of disputes, I hear.
Huge. Know the laws in your state exactly. There are usually limits on how much you can charge, often 1 month's rent. You can only deduct for actual damages beyond normal wear and tear. You can't deduct for routine painting between tenants or upgrading the carpet. And you must return the deposit or an itemized list of deductions within the legally required time frame, which is often something like 21 days after they move out. Follow the rules precisely here.
Got it. What if things go really bad? Eviction.
Eviction is the absolute last resort. It's costly, time-consuming, stressful, and you often never recover the lost rent or legal fees. Always try to work things out first. If it comes to it, always use an attorney who specializes in landlord-tenant law. Don't try to DIY an eviction. And consider offering cash for keys. First, basically paying the tenant to leave peacefully by a certain date. It often ends up being cheaper and faster than a formal eviction battle, which can drag on for 4-6 months easily.
Cash for keys. Interesting alternative. This all sounds like, well, a job. Which brings up property management. Should a first-time investor just hire someone or try doing it themselves?
That's the million-dollar question. Doing it yourself, DIY, obviously saves you the management fee, which is typically 8% to 12% of the rent collected, and you have total control. The downsides: it takes significant time, you have to stay constantly updated on changing laws, and you need to be available for late-night emergency calls.
Yeah, the 2 a.m. toilet flood call.
Exactly. Hiring a professional property manager gives you expertise, saves you a ton of time. They handle the screening, the calls, the maintenance coordination. The cons are the cost, obviously, and you have less direct control. Plus, finding a really good proactive property management company can be a challenge in itself.
So what's the recommendation for a newbie?
Here's my strongest recommendation. Manage your first property yourself for at least a year, maybe 2.
Really? Even with all the work?
Yes, because that hands-on experience is invaluable. You will learn exactly what's involved, what things really cost, how the process works. Then, when you're ready to hire a manager later, you'll be much, much better equipped to know what to look for, what questions to ask, and how to tell if they're doing a good job. You'll understand the business from the ground up.
Learn the ropes yourself first. Makes sense. Any final tips on the financial management side of being a landlord?
Yeah, 2 quick things. 1, set up a completely separate bank account just for the rental property. All income goes in, all expenses come out, makes tracking for taxes incredibly easier. 2, I know we talked about cash reserves for buying, but you need to maintain that reserve. Keep that 3-6 months of expenses buffer funded. Or another way to think about it is consistently setting aside maybe 10% of each month's rent specifically for future maintenance and capital expenditures. Because big ticket items, furnaces, water heaters, eventually roofs will need replacing. Be prepared.
Separate account. Maintain reserves.
Yeah.
Got it. Wow. Okay. We have journeyed from the dream through financing, finding, fixing, filling. What about the long game? Looking beyond this first property, how do people scale this into, a real portfolio? Building an empire, like you said earlier.
Right. The empire vision. Look, the path to scaling is actually pretty straightforward, conceptually at least.
Yeah.
Keep that first property for maybe a year, 18 months. Get comfortable with being a landlord. Understand the operations.
Learn the ropes, like you said.
Exactly. While you're doing that, start saving for the next down payment. And then you basically rinse and repeat the whole process we just walked through. Find another good deal, analyze it, buy it, fix it up if needed, rent it out.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah. And the amazing thing is, You get better each time. You get faster at analyzing deals, better at estimating repairs, more efficient at managing tenants. That first property is your training ground. Subsequent ones usually go smoother.
So it's a learnable skill that compounds.
Absolutely. And think about the long-term potential. Is building a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio over, say, 10 to 15 years achievable for an average person starting out? Yes, absolutely. Imagine you buy a duplex every other year. In a decade, you own 5 duplexes. That's 10 rental units.
10 doors.
Imagine those 10 units cash flowing every month. And imagine 30 years down the road when the mortgages are completely paid off. You've essentially built yourself a pension. Plus, you've created significant generational wealth you can pass down. It's powerful stuff.
That really puts it in perspective. A self-built pension. Beyond the cash flow and that long-term payoff, remind us again of the other big financial advantages. You mentioned appreciation earlier.
Right. So, the key advantages, let's recap. 1. Appreciation. Historically, property values tend to go up over the long term. Not guaranteed every year, but over decades, it's a strong trend. Adds to your net worth. 2. Tax benefits. This is a huge one, maybe the biggest advantage real estate has over other investments.
Okay, let's break down the tax benefits again. Deductions.
Yeah, you can deduct most of your operating expenses, mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance, repairs, maintenance, property management fees. Reduces your taxable income. But the real magic bullet is depreciation.
Depreciation. Explain that again simply. The IRS lets you pretend the house is losing value.
Kind of, yeah. Even though your property is likely going up in value, the IRS allows you to deduct a portion of the building's cost each year as a wear and tear expense. It's a phantom deduction. You don't actually spend cash on it that year, but it directly reduces your taxable rental income.
So you could be making cash flow, but show a loss on paper for tax purposes.
Exactly. It's possible to have positive cash flow in your bank account, but report a nominal loss to the IRS because of depreciation. It's incredibly powerful for reducing your tax burden. And as you grow, there are even more advanced strategies like accelerating depreciation through cost segregation studies or using 1031 exchanges to defer capital gains taxes when you sell one property and buy another. Definitely stuff to talk to a good CPA about.
Wow, depreciation sounds like a superpower for investors.
Ugh.
Okay, so appreciation, massive tax benefits. What else?
Third is leverage. The ability to control a large asset with a relatively small amount of your own money down. That $80,000 down payment controlling a $400,000 asset, that's leverage amplifying your potential returns and risks, admittedly. Fourth, it's a great hedge against inflation.
How so?
Well, as inflation pushes up the cost of everything, it also tends to push up rents. So as a landlord, your income stream naturally tends to rise with inflation, helping you keep pace, unlike just holding cash or some fixed income investments.
Okay, appreciation, tax benefits, leverage, inflation hedge. Sounds amazing. But let's be real, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Yeah.
What are the challenges?
Oh, absolutely not. Let's be clear. It is not passive income, especially at first. It takes real work up front, finding deals, managing renovations, screening tenants. You need to build systems, maybe assemble a team over time, agent, lender, contractor, CPA.
Okay, it takes work.
You will have unexpected costs pop up. Markets can go down. Property values aren't guaranteed to rise every year. It requires a significant time commitment, can definitely be stressful. And yes, there will be headaches along the way. Tenants, toilets, and termites, as they say.
Tenants, toilets, and termites. Lovely.
But even with all those challenges acknowledged, the fundamental benefits remain. Owning rental property provides that potential for monthly cash flow, long-term appreciation, those incredible tax advantages, strategic leverage, and that hedge against inflation. When done right, treating it like a real business, it remains one of the most robust and proven wealth-building tools available to regular people.
That's a fantastic summary. So we've really gone deep today, bringing this exploration of buying your first rental property to a close. And as we've heard, yeah, the journey definitely demands commitment. It demands research, smart decisions. But those potential long-term rewards, they really can be transformative. Consistent income, assets going up in value, those powerful tax breaks, and ultimately, maybe building real financial freedom. The potential is just immense.
It truly is. And maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Considering everything we've walked through, the steps, the potential benefits, the challenges, and keeping in mind that core idea that every property can cash flow if you buy it at the right price, maybe ask yourself, how much of any hesitation you feel right now is truly necessary, diligent research? And how much might just be paralysis by analysis, stopping you from taking that very first crucial step towards building your own real estate future?
That is a powerful question to ponder. something for all of us to think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this has given you a solid foundation and maybe the confidence to explore further. Keep learning, consider taking that next step, and we definitely hope you'll join us again for more insights on future deep dives.